Good morning, students. Dear students, today we are going to discussing something about ninth standard second language English. Today we are going to discussing something about ninth standard second language English. Ninth standard second language English. Under that, today we are going to learning something about the second unit of yours, that is the three questions. The three questions. So, in this unit, we are going to learn something about as a subunit to know about author of the lesson, the author of the lesson, and also what are the three questions? What are the three questions? So these are all the several aspects today we are going to learning, dear students. Very first, we are going to learn something about author of the unit, the three questions. Who wrote the lesson, the three questions? Which is the lesson written by Count Leo Tolstoy. About the author. This lesson is written by Count Leo Tolstoy. Count Leo Tolstoy. Count Leo Tolstoy, who was lived between 1828 to 1910. So this is called his lifespan. Whose lifespan? Our author, Count Leo Tolstoy, who took birth in the year 1828 and is left in the year 1910. So this is called his lifespan. Who wrote a beautiful lesson called Three Questions. Dear students, Count Leo Tolstoy, the Russian novelist, belongs to Russia. Russian novelist and also moral philosopher. And ranks as one of the world's greatest writer, who secured number one rank in the world's greatest writers. World's greatest writers. He was one of the world's greatest writer, and also his War and Peace has been hailed as the greatest novel ever written. His greatest novel is War and Peace. War and Peace. This is the greatest novel of Count Leo Tolstoy. Even today, it was very famous novel. Okay, and his ability to of wave stories, his wonderful characters, and his narrative capabilities are appreciated in every part of the world, even to this day. Dear students, please understand this. He was the greatest writer and a novelist who belongs to Russia, and his books became a world famous, and he was going to narrate beautiful stories and wonderful characters, and his narrative capability is good and are appreciated in every part of the world, even today, dear students. These are all the several aspects that belongs to our author, Count Leo Tolstoy. Are you understand, my dear students? This is something about our author. The lesson 3 questions is written by Count Leo Tolstoy, who belongs to Russian writer. His lifespan was between 1828 to 1910, and he was the greatest Russian novelist and moral philosopher, and also world's greatest writer. He was one of the world's greatest writers. And also his world famous novel was War and Peace. Even today, this novel became a world famous. And also his narrative style of stories, and he selected characteristics are more interesting and very beautiful across than it famous for world. So this is the thing that tells something about our author, Count Leo Tolstoy. Now, dear students, please open your textbook. What are the lines was written by? What are the lines were written by Count Leo Tolstoy? Please turn over the page number 31 of your text. Go through that and listen the lesson carefully of your teachers while reading. Okay. See, unit number 2, prose. Here is a one pre-reading task to you. That is, before we are entering into the lesson, arises here 3 questions. What are those 3 questions? These 3 questions are like this. Discuss the following points in groups and present your views in the class. It means, now I am going to dictate to you 3 questions. After the hearing of that questions, you are all fall in discussions. And what are the ideas and views on that questions? Then share with your friends or in the classroom. Okay? Are you get ready? Yes. My first question is the best time to do something. See? Are you listening my question? The best time to do something. And what time is the best time to do something in our lives? That is the first thing. And second one is the most important person in your life. The most important person in your life. And last third one is the most important thing to do in your life. Dear students, are you understand these 3 questions? The first question is, what is the best time to do something? And the most important person in your life, who is the most important person? And what the most important thing to do in your life? These are all the three questions has been given for the purpose of your discussions in the groups. Okay, I hope that you are all discussing about that questions and share the views with your friends. Now the same things our author Count Leo Tolstoy has introduced, or he arises three questions. What are those three questions? These three questions are very beautifully narrated with the beautiful characters like a king, hermit, sergeants, and hunters, and some other characters are going to be used beautifully by Count Leo Tolstoy in this lesson. Okay. Now we will read the lesson. Okay, please observe carefully. The lesson title is like this: Three questions written by Count Leo Tolstoy. A king asks three questions and is seeking answers to them. What are the questions? Does the king get what he wants? Read to find out. See, this is the introductional aspect to introduce something about the lesson, the three questions. What it tells us, here is a king. Here is a king who have the three questions. Have three doubts. These doubts are called as three questions. And he was trying to seeking the answers to these questions. So he always try to seeking the answers for them. Seeking the answers for these three questions. So is the king really get the answer for these three questions? Don't know. We can go through the lesson, then only understand how we can get the answers for these three questions. Before we know the answers, what are the three questions? That thing must be understood now. Okay. So does the king get what he wants? Read to find out. He really get what he wants? Don't know. Come and go through this lesson. Then only we can find out what he wants sometime. Okay. Come. Paragraph number is first. The thought came to a certain king that he would never fail if he knew three things. First, what is the right time to begin something? Second, who should a king listen to? Third, what is the most important thing for a king to do? The king therefore sent messengers throughout his kingdom, promising a large sum to anyone who would answer these three questions. Many wise men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. See, dear students, this is the first paragraph of the lesson, three questions. And now we move to second paragraph. In reply to the first question, some said the king must prepare a timetable and then follow it strictly. Others said that it was impossible to decide in advance the right time for doing something. The king should do whatever seemed necessary at that time. Yet others said that the king needed a council of wise men who would help him act at the proper time. But then others said that there were some things which could be urgent. These things could not wait for the decision of the council in order to decide the right time for doing something. It is necessary to look into the future, and only magicians could do that. The king therefore would have to go to magicians. In their answers, in their answers, to the second question, some said that the people most necessary to the king were his counselors. Others said priests, a few others chose doctors, and yet others said that his soldiers were the most necessary. To the third question, some said attack, others chose fight, and yet others religious worship. As the answers to his questions were so different, the king was not satisfied. He decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. The king put on ordinary clothes and went to meet the hermit. Before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went alone. As the king came near the hermit's hut, he saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. He greeted the king and continued digging. The king went up to the hermit and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer 3 questions. And he repeated the questions. The hermit listened to the king but did not speak. You are tired, said the king. Let me take the spade and work in your place. Thanks, said the hermit, giving the king his spade. When the king had dug 2 beds, he stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit gave no answer. Dear students, let it be stopped. Now, we are going to discuss what are the discussions are going here. See, the first paragraph tells us what actually the king want. What actually a king want. He want answers for his 3 questions. Okay, dear students, please note this. The thought came to a certain king that he would never fail if he knew 3 things. ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ, ಈ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿದೆ? ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ಬಂದಂತಹ 3 ಡೌಟ್ಗಳು ಯಾವುವು, 3 ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಯಾವುವು ಮತ್ತು ಅವುಗಳಿಗೆ ಅವನು ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕಿದ ವಿಧಾನ ಏನು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. The thought came to a certain king that he would never fail if he knew 3 things. ಇವಕ್ಕೆ ಉತ್ತರಗಳನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕಲೇಬೇಕು ನಾನು ಅಂತ ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುವು 3 ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು? Number 1 thought is, what is the right time? What is the right time? Right time to begin something. To begin something. See, dear students, this is the first question arises in the mind of certain king. This is the first question. What is the first question of the king? What is the right time to begin something? ನಾವು ಏನಾದರೂ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಯಾವುದು ಅಥವಾ ರೈಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಯಾವುದು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ರಾಜನಿಗೆ. And second one is like this: who should a king listen is arises in the mind of king. What is the second question? Who should a king listen to? ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ರಾಜನಾದವನು ಯಾರ ಮಾತನ್ನ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು? ಅದು ಅವನ ಎರಡನೆಯ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ಮೂರನೇ, ಥರ್ಡ್ ಒನ್ is, what is the most important thing? What is the most important thing? Important thing for a king to do. This is the third question, is arise in the mind of a certain king. What is the third question? What is the most important thing for a king to do? ಒಬ್ಬ ರಾಜನಾದಂಥವನು ಯಾವ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ನೋಡಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ, ಈ ಮೂರು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಒಬ್ಬ ರಾಜನ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತವೆ. ಈ ಮೂರು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕಲು ಅವನು ಶತಾಯ ಗತಾಯ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಮೊದಲನೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನೋಡಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ, ನಾವು ಏನಾದರೂ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಯಾವ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸಬೇಕು? ಎರಡನೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಒಬ್ಬ ರಾಜನಾದಂಥವನು ಯಾರ ಮಾತನ್ನ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು? ಮೂರನೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಒಬ್ಬ ರಾಜನಾದಂಥವನು ಯಾವ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಮುಖ್ಯತೆಯಿಂದ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಯಾವುದು? See, these are all the three questions came to a certain king's mind, and he was seeking the answers to them, so that the king therefore sent messengers throughout his kingdom. For the purpose of getting the answers for this question, what the king could do, simply sent the messengers ಅನ್ನು ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾನೆ. Messengers. What the messengers means? What it means? Messenger means, messenger is a person who carries the message. Who carrying the message? Carrying a message. So who is called messenger? Are you understand, dear students? This is called new word for you and its meanings. Okay, here our author used one word, messenger. Here messengers means one who carrying a message, or a person who carrying a message from one place to another place, who is called messenger. In Kannada we call it as Duta. ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಮೆಸೆಂಜರ್ ಅನ್ನ ದೂತ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂದಿನ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಜರುಗಳು ತಮ್ಮ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ತಲುಪಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ದೂತರನ್ನ ನೇಮಕ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಹಾಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ರಾಜ ತನ್ನ ದೂತರಿಗೆ ಆದೇಶ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಮೂರು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಕೊಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಯಾರು ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಬರ್ರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ತನ್ನ ಸಾಮ್ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಉದ್ದಗಲಕ್ಕೂ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಸಮ್ ಟು ಎನಿವನ್ ಹೂ ವುಡ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ದೀಸ್ 3 questions. And here king promising, he gave large sum to anyone who would give the correct answers for these 3 questions. ಯಾರು ಈ ಮೂರು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೋ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೋ ಅವರು? ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಸಮ್. ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಸಮ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಸಮ್, ಅಪಾರವಾದಂತ ಸಂಪತ್ತನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತೇನೆ ನಾನು, ವೆಲ್ತ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತೇನೆ. Those who are the answers correctly for these 3 questions. That's why he sent the messengers throughout his kingdoms. This is first paragraph of the lesson, the 3 questions. ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ, ಇದು ಮೊದಲನೆಯ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್. ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ಉಂಟಾದಂತಹ 3 ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು, ಆ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ರಾಜ ಏನು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇದು ಮೊದಲನೇ ಕೆಲವು. Dear students, now I am asking to you one or two questions about the first paragraph. Can you tell me what are the questions arises in the mind of king? Yes, these three questions. And what he to do to seeking the answers for these three questions? He sent messengers throughout his kingdom, and he was going to promising to give the Lord some those who are gave the answers correctly for these questions. So these are all the several aspects we will observe in the lesson. Three questions. Now we move to second paragraph. Many wise men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. Many wise men ಅಂದರೆ ಬುದ್ಧಿವಂತ ಇಂಟೆಲಿಜೆಂಟ್ ಫೆಲೋಸ್ ಬಂದರು, ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟರು, ಆದರೆ ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ಅದು ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ದೇರ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ವೆರಿ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್. ಇನ್ ರಿಪ್ಲೈ ಟು ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್, some of the persons gave the answer for the first question. Some said, ಕೆಲವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಏನಂತ, the king must prepare a timetable and then follow it strictly. ನೋಡಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ, ಮೊದಲನೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ ಕೆಲವರು ಉತ್ತರ ಹೇಳಿದರು. king must be prepared the timetable and he must follow it strictly. ಒಂದು ವೇಳಾಪಟ್ಟಿಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಅದನ್ನ ಬಿಗಿಯಾಗಿ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವರು ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಅದರ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಇನ್ ಕೆಲವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು that it was impossible to decide in advance the right time for doing something. ನಾವೇನಾದರೂ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಸಮಯ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಅಡ್ವಾನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವರು ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಕಿಂಗ್ ಶುಡ್ ಡೂ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಸೇಮ್ಡ್. ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ಯಾವಾಗ ಏನು ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೋ ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಸಮಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ. ನೆಸಸರಿ ಆಟ್ ದಟ್ ಟೈಮ್, ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ಯಾವುದು ಅಗತ್ಯತೆ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೋ ಆ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಅದೇ ರೈಟ್ ಟೈಮ್. ಯಟ್ ಅದರ್ಸ್, ಇನ್ನು ಉಳಿದಂಥವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದರು ಏನಂತ, ದಟ್ ದ ಕಿಂಗ್ ನೀಡೆಡ್ ಎ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಆಫ್ ವೈಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್. ದಟ್ ಕಿಂಗ್ ನೀಡೆಡ್ ಎ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಆಫ್ ವೈಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್. ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್, ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾಬಿನೆಟ್, ಎ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಫ್ wise persons to provide advice to king. They are called council. Do you understand, my dear students? Group of wise persons to provide advice to critical time of king. That is called council. Just like a cabinet. How our chief ministers or prime ministers have the council of ministers, no? In the same way, past time kings also appointed some intelligent fellows as a cabinet members, as a council members of his kingdom. Such person can give advices time to time to the king. They are called council members, okay, or ministers also, and could help them act at the proper time. But then others said that there were some things which could be urgent. ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವರು ಹೇಳಿದರು, ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಅರ್ಜೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವುದು ಇರುತ್ತೋ ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಜೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವುದು ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. These things could not wait for the decision of the council. In order to decide the right time for doing something, it is necessary to look into the future, and only magician could do that. The king therefore would have go to magician. ನೋಡ್ರಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ, ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವರು ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟರು ನೋಡಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ. ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರು, these kings could not wait for decision of council. ಅವರ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್, ಅವರ ಕ್ಯಾಬಿನೆಟ್ನ ಸಹಾಯಕರು, ಅವರ ಮಂತ್ರಿಮಂಡಲದ ಸಹಾಯಕರು ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡುವಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೇನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ರಾಜ? ಇನ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಟು ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ದ ರೈಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಫಾರ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನೆಸರಿ ಟು ಲುಕ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಫ್ಯೂಚರ್. ಭವಿಷ್ಯವನ್ನು ನೋಡಿ ಅವನು ಮುಂದೆ ನಾನು ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವರು ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಮೆಜಿಷಿಯನ್ ಕುಡ್ ಡೂ ದಟ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ರಾಜ ಯಾರ ಬಳಿ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು? ಮೆಜಿಷಿಯನ್ಸ್. ಯಾರ ಬಳಿ? ಮೆಜಿಷಿಯನ್ಸ್. ಮೆಜಿಷಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ? ಜಾದೂಗಾರರು. ಜಾದೂಗಾರರು. ಜಾದೂಗಾರರ ಬಳಿ ಹೋಗಿ ನಾನು ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಮುಂದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ತಿಳ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. Therefore would have go to magician. In their answer to the second question, ಈಗ ಎರಡನೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ನೋಡಿ. Some said that the people most necessary to the king were his counselors. Others said priests. ಕೆಲವರು ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾತನ್ನ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಇನ್ ಕೆಲವರು ಪ್ರಿಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪುರೋಹಿತರು. ಪುರೋಹಿತರ ಮಾತನ್ನ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಥವಾ ಪೂಜಾರಿಯ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು, ರಾಜ ಆದಂಥವು ಆಸ್ಥಾನ ಗುರುಗಳ ಮಾತನ್ನ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವರು ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವರು ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು? ಎ ಫ್ಯೂ ಅದರ್ಸ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಮಾತು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು. ಅಂಡ್ ಎಟ್ ಅದರ್ಸ್, ಇನ್ನೂ ಉಳಿದಂತ ಕೆಲವರು ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದರು? ದಟ್ ಈ ಸೈಡ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್ ವರ್ ದ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ನೆಸಸರಿ. ತನ್ನ ಸೈನಿಕರ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಅವರು ಭಾಳ ನೆಸೆಸಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಟು ದ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಸಮ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್. ಈಗ ಮೂರನೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ ಉತ್ತರಗಳೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕೆಲವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ರಾಜ ಆದಂಥವನು ಯುದ್ಧ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಕ್ರಮಣ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅದರ್ಸ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಫೈಟ್, ಹೋರಾಟ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅಂಡ್ ಏಟ್ ಅದರ್ಸ್ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ವರ್ಷಿಪ್, ಧಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಸಭೆ ಸಮಾರಂಭಗಳನ್ನು, ಧಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನು ರಾಜ ಆದಂಥವನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಉತ್ತರ ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಸೊ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ ಹಿಯರಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್, these answers, does king really accept it? Does he accept it or not? Let me see. Okay, come. As the answer to his questions were so different, all questions and answers are different, the king was not satisfied. ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ಇವರು ಹೇಳಿದಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಉತ್ತರಗಳು ತೃಪ್ತಿಕರವಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಐ ವಾಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫೈಡ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಡಿಸೈಡೆಡ್ ಟು ಸೀಕ್ ದ ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಸರ್ಟನ್ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ದ ಇವನು? ಒಬ್ಬ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ನ ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೋದ. ಯಾರ ಅಡ್ವೈಸು? ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್. ಏನಿದು ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ? ಎ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಹೂ ಲಿವ್ಸ್ ಅಲೋನ್. ಎ ಪರ್ಸನ್ who lives alone in simple life, in alone leads in simple life. See, such kind of persons we call it as hermit. ಅಥವಾ ಇದನ್ನ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಋಷಿ ಮುನಿ ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಋಷಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಊರಿಂದ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಕುಟೀರದಲ್ಲಿ ಸರಳ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳು ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಅವರನ್ನು ನಾವು ಋಷಿ ಮುನಿಗಳು ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಆ ಥರದ ಒಬ್ಬ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ನ ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್ ಪಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ರಾಜ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ನೌ ದ ಕಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಸೈಡೆಡ್ ದಟ್ ಟು ಸೀಕ್ ದ ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಸರ್ಟನ್ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಹೂ ವಾಸ್ ವೈಡ್ಲಿ ನೋನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಹಿಸ್ ವಿಸ್ಡಮ್. ದಟ್ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಅವನು ಭಾಳ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ ಅವ್ರ ಸಾಮ್ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ. ತನ್ನ ವಿಸ್ಡಮ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಬುದ್ಧಿವಂತಿಕೆಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ರಾಜ ನಾನು ಅವನ ಬಳಿ ಹೋದರೆ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಉತ್ತರ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವನ ಬಳಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಈಗ ನೋಡಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳು, ದ ಕಿಂಗ್ ಪುಟ್ ಆನ್ ಆರ್ಡಿನರಿ ಕ್ಲೋತ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವೆಂಟ್ ಟು ಮೀಟ್ ದ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್. ರಾಜ ಮಾರುವೇಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಈಗ ನಾನು ರಾಜ ಅಂತ ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಳಲ್ಲ, ಆರ್ಡಿನರಿ ಕ್ಲೋತ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕೊಂತಾನೆ. ಹಳೆಯ ಬಟ್ಟೆಗಳು, ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಜನರು ಹಾಕ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಉಡುಗೆಯನ್ನು ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಂತಾನೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವೆಂಟ್ ಟು ಮೀಟ್ ದ ಅರ್ಮಿಟ್. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಅವನು ಅರ್ಮಿಟನ್ನು ಮೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋದ. ಬಿಫೋರ್ he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went alone. ರಾಜ ಅರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಬಳಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ತನ್ನ ಕುದುರೆ ಮತ್ತು ಬಾಡಿಗಾರ್ಡ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಬಾಡಿಗಾರ್ಡ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕುದುರೆಯನ್ನ ದೂರದಲ್ಲೇ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿ ಈಗ ರಾಜ ಒಬ್ಬರೇ ಕುದುರೆಯನ್ನು ಇಳಿದು ಅರ್ಮಿಟ್ನ ಆಶ್ರಮದ ಬಳಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. He went alone near to hermit. As the king came nearer to the hermit's hut, hermit hut ಬಳಿ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. He saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. ರಾಜ ಬಂದಾಗ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ, ಅವನ ಹಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ, ಗುಡಿಸಿಲು. ಋಷಿ ಮುನಿ ವಾಸ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಆ ತರದ ಒಂದು ಗುಡಿಸಲು. ಗುಡಿಸಿಲಿನ ಮುಂದೆಗಡೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ, ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಡಿಗ್ಗಿಂಗ್ ದ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಇದನ್ನು ಹಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಅದ್ರ ಮುಂದೆಗಡೆ ಆ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಭೂಮಿಯನ್ನ ಅಗಿತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ ವಿತ್ ದ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೇಡ್. ಸ್ಪೇಡ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ? ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೇಡ್? Spade means spade. This is one kind of agricultural instrument. A kind of agriculture instrument which is used mainly for digging the land. That is called spade. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ, ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ನಾವೇನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಚಲ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಆ ಚಲ್ಕೆಯನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು ಆ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ ತನ್ನ ಮನೆಯ ಮುಂದೆ ಭೂಮಿಯನ್ನ ಅಗಿತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ. ಈಗ ರಾಜ ಮುಂದೆ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊತಾನೆ. Before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went along. As the king came nearer the hermit's hut, he saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. Digging ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅಗಿಯೋದು ಮಕ್ಕಳು. He greeted the king and continued digging. ಯಾವಾಗ ಅವನು ಅಗಿತಾ ಇರ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ, ಇವನು ರಾಜ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, ಬಂದು ನಿಂತಾಗ was greeted ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್, ಗುಡ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ನೂನ್, ಗುಡ್ ಈವ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ವಾ. ಸಚ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಗ್ರೀಟೆಡ್. ಆ ಥರ ಗ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಹಾಯ್, ಹಲೋ, ನಮಸ್ತೆ, ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್. ಸಿ ಸಚ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಗ್ರೀಟಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ hermit and our king. And later on, the king went up to the hermit and said, ಸೀದಾ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಹತ್ರನೇ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟ, ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ಗೆ, ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ಯು ವೈಸ್ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್. ನಾನು ನಿನಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್. ಟು ಆಸ್ಕ್ ಯು ಟು ಆನ್ಸರ್ 3 questions. ನನಗೆ 3 ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಉತ್ತರಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಈ ರಿಪೀಟೆಡ್ ದ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್. ತನ್ನ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೇಳಿದರು. ದ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಲಿಸನ್ ಟು ದ ಕಿಂಗ್. ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ದ, ಆ ಪಾಠಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ. ಬಟ್ ಡಿಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಸ್ಪೀಕ್. ಆದ್ರೆ ಅವನೇನು ಮಾತಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಯು ಆರ್ ಟಯರ್ಡ್ ಸೆಡ್ ದ ಕಿಂಗ್. ಓ ಮಹಾರಾಜ, ನೀವು ತುಂಬ ಟಯರ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ಆಯಾಸ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಲೆಟ್ ಮಿ ಟೇಕ್ ದ ಸ್ಪೇಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಇನ್ ಯುವರ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್. ರಾಜ ಏನಂದ್ರು, ಓ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್, ನೀವು ತುಂಬ ಆಯಾಸಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ಕೊಡಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಪೇಡ್, ಚಲ್ಕೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡಿ, ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಸೆಡ್ ದ ಹರ್ಮಿಟ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ದ ಕಿಂಗ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಸ್ಪೇಡ್. ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ಚಲ್ಕೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟ. ವೆನ್ ದ ಕಿಂಗ್ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಡಗ್ 2 beds, 2 ಸರಿ ಭೂಮಿಯನ್ನು ಅಗದ ರಾಜ, ಈ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರಿಪೀಟೆಡ್. ಚಲ್ಕೆಯನ್ನು ಅಲ್ಲಿಟ್ಟು ಮತ್ತೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದ.
The hermit gave no answers. ಆದರೆ hermit ಆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. Is it really get the answers for his questions from the hermit? How can he get the answers for these three questions from the hermit? Like we see in another paragraphs. Okay. So before we stop the lesson here, I am going to check your understanding through the questions. Okay. Are you get ready to answer for my questions? Yes. My first question is like this. What thought came to the king? What thought came to the king? Certain king came thought to his king seeking the answer for his three questions. Write the three questions for which the king wanted to have the answers. ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ಬಂದಂತ ಮೂರು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಇವೆ. The king has the three questions which he wanted to answer. First one is, what is the right time to begin something, and who should a king listen to, and what is the most important thing for a king to do? These are all the three questions arises in the mind of king. And another question is like this, please answer this one. Was the king satisfied with the answers? If yes, why? If no, why? So king, he wanted to seek in the answer for these questions. That's why he sent a messengers throughout his kingdom, and he was promising to pay the large sum those who are gave the answers correctly. For the hearing of these news, many of the people came across his kingdom near to the palace and answers them all the questions differently. But king didn't satisfy. Why didn't satisfy all those answers? Because those answers are not good, not acceptable. That's why he did not satisfy with their answers. Okay, right. And the last question is, who did the king decide to seek advice from? The king did decide to seek advice from a wise hermit who was widely famous for his wisdom. Are you understand the answers, dear students? Yes, definitely. These four questions are very important questions and appear in today's paragraphs. Dear students, I hope that you're all understand in a proper way. If you have any doubts, please ask to me. Otherwise I will going to give some dictionary words to you. You will have to work with the dictionary and identify the meaning of these words and parallel meanings, etc. Okay. Now I am going to give to you some words. You have to work with them in your dictionaries. Okay. See, write it down. The first one is messengers, kingdom, and wise, W-I-S-E, wise, and another one is timetable, strictly, and some other words. You have to work with the dictionary, and if you have arises any doubts, then ask to me. Okay, dear students, I will stop here and remaining things will be discussed on next class. Thank you one and all. Thank you.